The neighbourhood of Psirri lies deep in the heart of Athens and is one of the most interesting areas, both historically and culturally, in the whole city. This lively district is flooded with cafes, bars, restaurants, trendy shops and art galleries, but it's also very much a gitonia, a neighbourhood where many of its residents have lived and worked for generations. Psirri has known many incarnations throughout its long history. Even the origins of its name is lost in the jumble of time. Some saying it comes from early settlers who came from the island of Psirri, and others claiming that it arises from the wealthy Psirros family who once owned much of the land in the area. Understanding this part of Athens requires a little knowledge of modern Greek history. Although inhabited in both antiquity and Ottoman times, Psirri rose to prominence during the Greek War of Independence, as many of the heroes of the revolution had homes here. Their names are still commemorated today in the streets surrounding the main square, known as Heroes Square. The spirit of this fascinating neighbourhood lives on throughout the centuries. History and the present merge on Pitaiki Street, named after 19th century revolutionary Kyriakos Pitaikis, and now adorned with 21st century imaginative display of street lights produced by a local arts collective. Romantics might like to take a stroll down Thekla Street, where Lord Byron first spotted the Greek beauty immortalised in his poem as the Maid of Athens. And even if your soul doesn't feel the pull of the poem penned in 1810, it can surely appreciate the fine leather soles made by the famous poet sandal-maker, whose shop is now on Thekla Street. The early wealthy families of Psirri didn't just build great homes, they also built churches, which accounts for the amount of houses of worship that this relatively small area contains. Renowned late 19th century author Alexandros Papadiamandis wrote widely about life in Psirri and lived near this church of Ion Anagiron. The neighbourhood hasn't always had a bright past, however. It gained notoriety following the War of Independence, when many of its residents became more armed and dangerous thugs than heroes of the revolution. And as more and more people poured into Athens looking for work, Psirri became home to gangs of petty criminals, some becoming so powerful the police were afraid to come anywhere near them. By the beginning of the 20th century, Psirri had gained a reputation for harbouring the underworld. But it was also home to skilled craftsmen who lived productive, law-abiding lives, working predominantly in the leather and soap-making businesses. Many of these families came from Naxos, and today, if you visit the main square in Easter, you will be overwhelmed by dozens of Naxiots selling lamb and delicious Naxos cheeses. Architecturally, Psirri is an intricate mishmash of its past. Some of the old factory and workshop buildings throughout the area have been redeveloped and sold as loft or gallery space, while many of the neoclassical mansions built after the War of Independence now house museums and cultural centres, and many of the beautiful 20th century Art Deco and Bauhaus apartment buildings are still lived in and loved. There are dark alleys and boarded-up decaying buildings that shadow Psirri's murky past and show its darker face. Look beyond the myriad of lively bars, restaurants and lovingly restored homes, and you will definitely see those who the ongoing economic crisis has robbed of any housing, any future. What makes Psirri so endlessly fascinating is that it is a kind of microcosm for modern Greek history, and it is as vibrant, individualistic, engrossing, creative, and engaging as the country itself.